The scream cut through the evening air before I even reached the yard. I dropped the tools in my hand and ran. My boots hit the grass hard, my heart pounding faster than it had in years. Then I saw it. A strange light hovering above the fence, humming with a low and steady sound. My son Oliver stood frozen beneath it, his small hand still holding a toy horse. I shouted his name. He turned toward me, his eyes wide with fear. Then the light pulled him upward, gentle but unstoppable, like invisible hands lifting him into the sky. I sprinted forward and jumped, my fingers brushing against his shoe, but it was too late. The light swallowed him whole and vanished into the clouds with a sound like thunder folding into itself. Silence returned to the farm. Only his shoe remained on the grass. I stood there breathing hard, staring at the empty sky. Something inside me shifted, something I had buried for 6 years. My hands stopped shaking. My mind became still and sharp, the way it used to be long ago, before I left that life behind to raise my son in peace. I am Daniel Ashworth. Most people in this village know me as a quiet farmer who keeps to himself. Few know what I used to do before Oliver was born. Fewer still know how far I am willing to go to bring him home. I ran inside and pulled open the old floor panel beneath my bed. Underneath it was a metal case I had promised myself I would never open again. My hands moved without hesitation, checking each item with practiced ease. A tracking device, a compact scanner, a few tools that most people would not recognize, but that I remembered like old friends. The scanner picked up a faint trail in the atmosphere, a signature of ionized particles left behind by the strange light. It pointed upward and outward, toward the hills where an old research station sat abandoned for years. I always thought it was empty. I was wrong. I grabbed my gear and left without a second thought. My neighbor Grace saw me from her porch and called out, asking what happened. I told her Oliver was taken, and I was going to get him back. She did not ask more questions. She simply nodded and told me to be careful, her voice steady despite the shock on her face. The walk to the hills took less time than I expected, driven by adrenaline and fear. When I reached the station, I found it was not abandoned at all. Beneath the broken concrete and rusted metal was a hidden entrance, humming with the same energy that had taken my son. My scanner confirmed it. This was no ordinary place. It was a gateway. I stepped through without hesitation. The world on the other side was nothing like our village. Cold metal walls stretched in every direction, lit by pale blue light. The air smelled sterile, almost artificial. Somewhere in the distance, I heard low voices speaking in a language I did not understand, followed by the sound of heavy footsteps. I pressed myself against the wall and listened. My training returned instantly, as if no time had passed at all. I moved carefully, avoiding open spaces, staying low, watching every shadow. This was their territory, but I was not going to let that stop me. I found a narrow corridor leading deeper into the structure. Along the way, I passed rooms filled with strange equipment, screens showing images of stars and planets, and containers holding things I did not want to look at too closely. My focus stayed on one thing only: finding Oliver. A patrol appeared ahead of me, 2 tall figures dressed in dark uniforms, their skin a pale gray color, their eyes sharp and alert. I ducked behind a container just in time. My heart pounded, but my breathing stayed calm and controlled. I waited until they passed, then continued forward. Every step brought me closer to understanding this place. It was some kind of processing station, a place where they brought children from different worlds before moving them elsewhere. The thought made my blood run cold, but it also gave me purpose. I needed to move faster. I found a control room with monitors showing different sections of the facility. My hands moved quickly over the console, searching for any sign of Oliver. After a tense few minutes, I found it. A holding chamber on the lower level, filled with children from different worlds, all sitting quietly, waiting for something unknown. Among them was Oliver, sitting with his knees pulled to his chest, his eyes staring blankly at the floor. My chest tightened at the sight, but I forced myself to stay focused. Emotion would not help me now, only precision would. I made my way toward the lower level, using the maintenance corridors to avoid detection. Along the way, I encountered more patrols, but each time I managed to stay hidden, using the skills I once thought I had left behind forever. It felt strange, almost like stepping into an old version of myself, one I thought I had buried for good. As I approached the holding chamber, an alarm suddenly blared through the facility. Red lights flashed along the walls, and the sound of running footsteps filled the corridors. Someone had noticed the missing feed from one of the cameras. I needed to move quickly now. I reached a security checkpoint guarding the entrance to the holding chamber. 2 guards stood at the door, alert and ready. I took a deep breath, calculating every possible move in my mind. There was no time for hesitation. I used a small device from my case to disable the nearby lights, plunging the area into darkness for a few seconds. In that brief window, I moved past the guards before they could react, slipping through the door into the holding chamber. Inside, the children looked up in surprise and fear. Oliver's eyes widened when he saw me, and for a moment, the disbelief crossed his face before pure joy took over. He ran toward me, wrapping his arms tightly around my waist. I knelt down and held him close, my hands trembling for the first time since this ordeal began. There was no time to waste. I turned to the other children, their faces filled with a mixture of hope and confusion. I could not leave them behind. I told them to stay close and follow me quietly. They nodded, some scared, some relieved, but all willing to trust me. We moved through the corridors as quickly as we could, avoiding patrols and using the shadows to our advantage. The alarm continued to blare, making every step feel more dangerous than the last. I kept Oliver's hand in mine, guiding the group toward the entrance I had used earlier. A group of guards appeared ahead, blocking our path. My mind raced, searching for a solution. I told the children to wait behind a large container while I moved forward alone. This was not a moment for hesitation. This was a moment for the skills I had spent years trying to forget. I moved quickly and quietly, using the environment to my advantage, staying low and unseen. Within moments, the path ahead was clear, and I returned to the children, motioning for them to follow. Their trust in me grew with every step, even as fear lingered in their eyes. We reached the main hall, where a taller figure stood waiting, clearly someone in command. His uniform was different from the others, decorated with markings I did not recognize. He studied me with a calm, curious expression, as if trying to understand how a single, unarmed human had caused so much disruption in his facility. He spoke, his voice carrying a strange, echoing quality, though the words came out in clear, understandable language through some kind of translation device. He asked how one person could cause so much trouble in a place designed to hold the most dangerous species without incident. I told him simply that he made a mistake. He assumed I was harmless because I looked like a farmer, because my world was labeled peaceful and primitive. He did not know that peace was something I fought hard to build, and that I would do anything to protect it, especially when it came to my son. He studied me for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Then he raised a hand, signaling his guards to stand down. He said something about respecting strength wherever it is found, even in unexpected places. He allowed us to pass, though his eyes remained fixed on me the entire time, filled with a mixture of caution and respect. We reached the gateway that had brought me into this world, the same shimmering light that had taken Oliver from our yard. One by one, the children stepped through, disappearing into the light, returning to wherever their homes might be. Grace stood on the other side, having somehow known to wait there, ready to help guide the frightened children to safety. Finally, it was just Oliver and me. I picked him up, holding him close as we stepped through the light together. The world spun for a moment, then settled, and we were standing back in our own yard, the evening sky calm and quiet above us. Grace rushed forward, her eyes filled with tears of relief as she checked on each child, wrapping them in blankets and offering comfort. Oliver held on to me tightly, his small body trembling slightly, but his eyes filled with the same trust and love they always had. I carried him inside, laying him gently on his bed, watching as exhaustion finally took over, and he drifted into sleep. I stood there for a long time, watching him breathe, feeling the weight of the day settle over me. The days that followed were quiet. The village learned pieces of what happened, though I never shared the full details. Some called me a hero. I never thought of myself that way. I was simply a father who refused to lose his son. Oliver returned to his usual self within a few weeks, playing in the yard, chasing chickens with his socks on, just like before. Sometimes, I still see a flicker of memory cross his face, but it fades quickly, replaced by laughter and the innocence of childhood. I put my old case back beneath the floor, but I did not close it completely this time. Some part of me knew that peace, no matter how deeply we hope for it, sometimes needs someone willing to protect it fiercely. That night, as I watched Oliver sleep peacefully, I understood something clearly. No matter where we come from, no matter how simple or humble our lives may seem, there is a strength within every parent that cannot be measured or underestimated. Anyone who threatens that bond will always find more resistance than they ever expected.